When I need to kickstart my crafting mojo, I like to reach for pattern paper. In today's video, I'm going to focus in on the poured acrylic 6x6 paper pack by Altenew. It's a great set of papers which are fantastic for using in multiple different ways on your cards, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways on 3 different cards to use these papers in my stylish card making techniques video today. Hi guys, let me give you a quick look at the poured acrylic 6x6 paper pack. This is the patterns that you can get in the set. There are 2 of each. They are double-sided and this is quite thick pattern paper. It's about 80 pounds and you get 2 of each design, 12 designs in total. The paper is quite glossy and you'll see we can use that to our advantage in one of the cards today. I'm going to first off start with die cutting and layered die cutting. This is the Wispy Feathers die set and you get a solid and an outline die for 2 different types of feathers. I'm just going to be using one today. And with the solid layer, I'm using my lighter coloured piece of patterned paper. So I have chosen this paler pink. And I recommend moving it around, you saw I was doing that, moving it around that pattern paper to see which of the patterns on the paper you like the best. Don't just sort of place the die down and hope you get something. You can look for the shapes and swirls on this paper that work well for you. I've now got another sheet of the paper and you'll see this is also pink, but it's somewhat darker. I'm going to outline the pale pink with a darker pink using a different sheet of that same pattern paper, and you'll see when I layer it down that you get this really nice kind of gradient look, but the 2 colors blend really well together, and I love how it works with this feather. And I sort of happy accident got that lighter pink towards the bottom. I thought that was really pretty. To make up my card, I'm going to stencil on this henna square stencil. I'm going to use a nice contrasting colour, Warm Sunshine, it's a really nice bright yellow. And taking a blender tool, I'm going to blend out that ink from the centre outwards. I'm not going to do the full card front. I want to keep it white around the outside edges. So I'm just going to blend from the centre and stop before I get to those outline edges as best as I can. And I'm not going too dark. I just kind of here and there want to get a little bit more shading in some of those areas, but you'll see I'm doing not too much blending here and it still leaves a really nice outline of that stencil. It will form a really nice backdrop to the feather, which I'm going to pop up using some foam tape to get that added dimension. I do have to apologise a little bit for my voiceover. I've been fighting some sort of weird cold and I haven't managed to shake it yet, so my apologies if I'm a little bit nasally. I'm going to add some sparkle with some shimmer spray. I'm using the Warm Sunshine again, thought it would go well with the ink blending, and I'm just going to use an old paintbrush to pat that on. This is a really small paintbrush because I just want to get some small splatters here and there. And then I'm also going to add some Frosty pink. Again, that's going to tie in with that pink on the feather. I'm going to add some bigger splatters here just by taking the spritzer itself out of the actual container and splattering that on. Be careful if you do it that way. You can end up with big splats that you didn't expect. So just be a little careful looking at what's dripping off that spritzer. You could also use a bigger paintbrush. For my sentiment, I'm using this gorgeous one from the Monsteras and Quotes sentiment set. I love how that sentiment looks, and I stamped it directly onto the background with obsidian pigment ink and added a few sparkling pink sequins. Now, I normally don't show how I make my card bases, but as Altenew has just released its own scoreboard, I wanted to give you a close-up look. It's deeper than other scoreboards I've used, and it comes with this stylus tool that fits perfectly into that little drawer that pops out at the top. And you can just score at 5.5 inches. This is a top folding A2 size card, and then use the side to crease it, or your bone folder that Altenew also carries. And what I really love about this is the depth of the scoreboard means I can line up my card front on my card base by pushing up into that corner, trim off any excess, and it's perfect, which I really struggle with lining up my card bases. I don't know about you. For my second card, I'm going to do some dry embossing. I've got this gorgeous bright yellow pattern paper from the pack. I love that swirl. I dry embossed the whole piece using the Daisy Bed 3D embossing folder. You can see, quick look, what it looks like on the back. I am going to be using the front. I like how it's subtle, depending on where the light shines on it. And then I trimmed it down with my paper trimmer, just picking which side I preferred the best. I'm going to pop it up with some more foam tape onto a white note card, leaving a very small border around the outside edge. I'm then going to grab the green from the set and die cut the top layer of the Inline Leaves Die Set. This is a layering die set, and at first I was just going to use that green layer, but I decided to grab some of the gilded gold glitter cardstock and die cut the lower layer as well, so it can peek through those leaves. I'm going to glue them together with some liquid glue, and voila, pop it up. It bends quite a lot, so you can sort of bend it and shape it as much as you like within reason on the front of your card base, and then just trim off any excess. And I just love that green. It's so perfect for those kind of leaves, and it gives them sort of dimension without you really having to do much at all. And then I've got a heat embossed sentiment here. That's a little sneak peek from a future release coming soon. So I unfortunately won't be able to put that in the supplies list below as yet, but I will update it as soon as that is released. Now for my third card, I'm going to do some hot foiling. So you remember I mentioned that the cardstock or the pattern paper is glossy. That is perfect for hot foiling, absolutely perfect. And this is my favorite sheet from the entire set. I love that blue against that pale cream. It's just so pretty. I wanted it to be the feature of my third card today. I'm going to hot foil it with matte gold glimmer hot foil and the Exquisite marble hot foil plate, which is a full A2 size sheet. Luckily, my cardstock, or my pattern paper I should say, is bigger than A2, so I didn't need to tape it down. I just dropped it on top, and you'll see how perfectly it foils. No missing areas, and I love that marble against that poured acrylic look. Doesn't it look gorgeous? I've trimmed it down. This is going to be my card front, but we're going to add a little bit more texture. I don't want a big focal image, but I wanted to add a little something else. So I'm going to heat emboss this Captivating Blooms stamp onto vellum. Vellum is going to let that poured acrylic pattern and that marbling show through, but I'm going to have some more texture in the shape of these florals on the front. So I'm inking up the stamp with embossing ink, stamping it down. I have treated my vellum with a powder bag, and then I'm using this translucent pearl crisp embossing powder. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it, but it is translucent, so you can see through it. It's not going to be solid white. And once I heat it up, you will see once it melts, it turns clear. And that way we're going to have some subtle texture on the front of our card, but still able to see that marbling and that pattern paper showing through. Now I didn't have the die, so I am going to do some fussy cutting. I won't show you all of it. Just take your time and turn the paper, not the scissors. That's my tip. Now this is how I'm going to line it up. You see how perfectly, happy accident again, it matches that swirl on the poured acrylic. And I'm going to grab my scoreboard again, and very gently I lined up where, sort of eyeballed it, where I wanted to fold this around the back of the panel, and then I'm flipping over my vellum so that embossing is facing down, and then I'm going to add a score line. Just makes it easier to wrap around my cardstock. I'm adding some double-sided tape onto the back of my cardstock panel, attaching that vellum that's going to be at the back onto that double-sided tape, and then folding around that vellum piece at my score line so that it goes over onto the front, which I have not attached at this point. So it's adhered to the back and not to the front. I am going to trim off the excess later on, but I am going to attach that vellum on the front in a sneaky way using a sentiment die. This is the Fancy Piece die. I've die cut it from brushed gold mirror cardstock, and I'm going to attach it with some liquid glue to the front of that vellum. I'm also going to bring in some satin gold sequins. And what you'll see is I'm going to add some liquid glue here and there, and then cover up the dot with a sequin. And I can do the same on the back of that piece die, so I can add glue to the back of the piece sentiment, adhere it down onto my pattern paper, and that way it will hold that vellum close to the paper, but you can't see any liquid glue. And I'm just gonna continue adding sequins here and there down that wave from the pattern paper, and that finishes my card. I added it to a card base, and that completes the trio. I hope I've inspired you to use more pattern paper on your cards, and in particular that poured acrylic pattern paper pack is just gorgeous. If you've enjoyed this video, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Altenew. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.